Do you know how to shift a negative situation or emotion into a better positive one that is more helpful for you? And what is reframing? Hi, Federica. Today at Lifting Consciousness, we're going to see what is reframing and also the difference and the similarities between anxiety and excitement. These emotions are very similar, and we'll also talk about what is the effect on how they would present within body sensation, what they do to the brain, and some techniques and very helpful practical advices or consideration that can be applied in everyday life, especially when linked to behavior. Now stay till the end if you sometimes have struggled with any compensating behavior. Now compensating behavior, what that is, it's a behavior or one action or a group of action that you may find yourself doing that you acknowledge that is not necessarily good for you, for the person that you want to be, but you struggle to give up. And it's something that if you go with a compassionate, non-judgmental, but truthful inquiry within yourself, as in if you find a quiet within yourself and try to understand yourself, you would find with honesty, with self-honesty, that behavior, like you're caught in that train of running emotion. Examples could be smoking, vaping, overeating, any other type, over-exercising, anything that is too much of or too less of a behavior or something that you know is not ideal for you. And we also see how to know whether that's helpful for you or not. How do you know within yourself? So if you go within you and you realize you're doing so much to fill a void or to try and avoid looking at something that is painful within you, it might be trauma, it might be a situation. We'll also see how to navigate this one and things that you can do for yourself, within yourself, to practice developing one, awareness, how to catch yourself in a moment and how to get better. Let's go back to the start. Reframing. I love to use the analogy of an handyman with the toolbox for all these tools that he would use to look after the house. And it's the same for the mind. So within the mind, we also can imagine and be aware that there is, if we wish to discover that, one example would be for you studying neuro-linguistic programming, only if that's made for good. Disclaimer, many people like to present NLP as in a bunch of techniques to manipulate people. Now, the tool is not the mean. Like, the tool is the tool. The purpose behind the tool and its application would make the difference. So if someone is not a genuine person and wants to use techniques to manipulate or take advantage for others, well, first of all, that speaks for themselves, but also you have always the choice to be manipulated or not. In other words, you're always in control. Just to, if you stand guard within yourself, within your mind, within your senses, you will learn and like very easily dismiss that. So for those of you who are skeptical, keep to your skepticism and by all means find out by yourself. But if you are a bit fearful or have some you're not so aligned with NLP because things that you've heard from others, then the invitation is just maybe be playful. You keep your own thoughts, but you can also try to be playful and just open-minded to listen and to consider that there are beautiful, more ethical approaches. So NLP is in reality like that toolbox, but for your mind. And if you learn to use the tool, you can use the tool with a very constructive intention. And the intention can beautifully be for you to reclaim your power, to reclaim your awareness. Now, this comes also with, we have polarity. So the yin, the yang, the sun, the moon, we have two beautiful sides. So, okay, wonderful, you want the constructive benefits, but be prepared to also to have ownership, to take self-responsibility for the things that you can work on within yourself, in the environment around you. You are responsible, for example, for the words you speak to yourself, for the words you speak to others, for the emotion or the way you interpret things from others. Two different individuals could listen to the same conversation and have two completely different reactions, emotion, and sensation. for now, let's go back in the toolbox. So like an handyman would use a different tool, say for example, from the same toolbox, which could be the mind, would use two different tools to fix, for example, a door versus to fix a sink or a window. It can be seen as exactly the same. So reframing it's helpful. It's a metaphorical tool that can be very helpful to shift, to change perspective. You can always make the decision. Would you like to prefer sinking more and marinating into a bad scenario, or would you rather be in a positive one that uplifts you, that enables you to be more of yourself, to have more joy, more excitement? Because until you make consciously that decisions, things are not going to change. Let's remember, humans are creatures of habits. You can hear the beautiful birds in my background. Humans are creatures of habits. What does it mean? That the longer we stay in an environment, the easier and the more that environment becomes familiar, and the harder it's going to be then to change those circumstances. This is no different with emotions. So this could be, for example, something that you've always heard or had within the family or the school environment, especially those development stage, 0 to 5, and then all the way up to 7 years, that as many of you know, that programming stage. So those beliefs, the thoughts, the emotion that are gonna be built, that's like the foundation of the house. It may take a little bit more to be aware and reframe or change the perspective of the approach to those beliefs, thoughts, and emotion. But anything that then it's more related to teenage or adult here, we can still do something about it. We can always do something about it to allow the situation to get better and reframe situations or emotion for the positive. So what's a practical example? A practical example, also diving into and zooming in into anxiety and excitement, is that shift, being able to shift and pivot from the negative scenario to the positive one. Let's see for a moment the similarities and difference between anxiety and excitement. Anxiety, being a very low vibration, makes you less of yourself, makes you heavier, likely, and you can feel free to add in the comment if there's any other things that comes to your mind that you would like to add to the description, or how does it feel, how is the experience like for you to experience anxiety versus to experience excitement. Excitement would be a higher vibration emotion, so it's an emotion that not just we know how to speak and see the universe in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. In simple terms, without understanding quantum physics, you can just check within yourself. Do you feel less energized or you feel more energized? You feel less of yourself or do you feel more of yourself? You feel less alive or you have more lively, more vital? So excitement, it is very uplifting. It's beautiful. It's contagious in that sense. Emotion, words, thoughts, everything carry a frequency. So when we say excitement is contagious, also anxiety and fear can be contagious. They carry that signal that is then transmissible and perceivable from others around you. So anxiety can also then even come either with more people around you that share the same down spiraling loop, or eventually come to isolation because other people, like, would you like to be always surrounded by people that are in fear and anxiety? That's not very uplifting, yeah? So it makes sense that sometimes people really try to protect their boundaries, but ultimately this might create more isolation. And this is not too much of a fancy or sexy topic, so many people don't talk about it, or there's many campaigns nowadays that talk about, are you okay? What I see in the industry, also within the mental space and professional, it's many people have, or even with the health coaches, if we talk gym, ice bath, counselor, psychologist, social worker, so many people have great professional skills. Others have good intention, although they may lack either the character strength or the soul willingness, or sometimes the skills or the life information from really dealing with trauma. And this is, everyone is on the journey. And I always like to invite, it's so beautiful, it should be the way. Like, you may be an expert in IT, or food, or something different, or art, and someone else is going to be an expert of health. And this is, or neuroscience, anything different. It's beautiful. This is how then we can grow together, as each one may have multiple passions and talents, but can also specialize in one thing. So together, collectively, we are stronger, and our collective intelligence continue to raise us up. So what I see in the field with Are You Okay, and also coming back then all the way to anxiety and excitement, is there is sometimes very often the intention of wanting to be compassionate or wanting to have empathy or sympathy for others, but sometimes people just scratch the surface and then don't want to look at it, because it could be a multitude of factors, and sometimes people neither know how to distinguish these factors. What do I mean? When the person then starts to open up and disclose what is really their anxiety or fear about, things may start to move. As those emotions, the words carry a big frequency, if there's been a lot of trauma stored for a lot of time, that's going to come out. And if someone, say for example, on a scale 1 to 10 was prepared to handle 2, and now is faced with a 10, they're going to try either to step back or like close the Pandora box, but that's ultimately going to be too late, and this may be not a good experience for the person experiencing anxiety. So as this video maybe is just validating what you already know, perhaps for some of you it's opening up a little bit of space, whether you are working within the mental health sector or just dealing with a relative person, a dear one that is facing anxiety and you want to help but you don't know where to start with, or if you are the person that has experienced trauma or often finds themselves caught within anxiety. And perspective that I offer very often move between one angle, one perspective to the other one. The intention is, I know, and also the reason behind, these are stories that comes every day from most of the people I hear from, or even clients, whether that colleagues in the mental health space or people in my communities or clients that I hear from. So it's very, the message, especially to those who want receiving the service, yeah? So let's say you are either speaking with someone or having a session with someone in the mental health space. It could be a social worker, it could be a psychologist, could be a counselor. Many people have wonderful intention to help, but just be open. First of all, remember that you can claim respectfully and express your voice at any time. Respectfully, with integrity, treat others the way you want to be treated. Be responsible for the way you communicate and behave, always. But also, the beautiful understanding that we can have one towards the others, that no one is perfect. So when there is the beautiful intention of wanting to help someone else or approaching with the "Are you okay?", especially concerned if someone is experiencing a lot of anxiety, not always there might be that level of readiness or preparation to handle a 10 level reaction. So take things one step at a time and be very kind with yourself if you're on each of these sides. We saw the differences, so now let's see the similarities. The body will perceive them in a very similar way. Have you ever heard Mel Robinson, where she speaks about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? So you have, and it doesn't have to be 5 seconds specifically, but the idea is, and she applies that to something different, which is fantastic. Thanks, Mel, for all the work that you do and share with others. The input, the input, the trigger within yourself would be very similar. So you may start to perceive a sense of emotional sensor or thoughts speeding up. So there is that sense of acceleration. And then you need to make that consciously sometimes, but you can learn to make that decision whether you want to experience anxiety or excitement. So for any situation, you can really approach and reframe the scenario, or whether you feel that acceleration. In other ways, this could present sweaty palms, heart pulsating at a different heart rate. The thoughts is a very common one. Your minds may start to run. You may see thoughts coming up at a very fast pace, one thing to the other one. And if you are not accustomed to meditation, start somewhere, but start. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be just setting up the space within yourself. We talk about this in other videos. Sit within yourself and learn, practice to observe your breath. Learn to observe the thoughts. There's no judgment here at this stage. It's the observation. Everything starts with awareness. Even if you're sitting or experiencing the anxiety or the excitement, learn to sit within yourself. Question. You can question in a way that is inquisitive, but also you can question with the same playfulness and curiosity of a child. It's because of wanting to know what I'm experiencing right now. Where are my thoughts running? Where are my thoughts going? What am I thinking about? Is this helping me or is not serving me? And how can I change? How can I reframe that? The phone is giving me clear signals today, so we're gonna dive deeper into another conversation about a better linkage when it comes to nutrition or compensating behavior. What I'm going to say for today in this video is, as you become better in this practice of learning and watching yourself, being aware of yourself of what you're doing in the moment, be very much aware that both the anxiety and the excitement will easily lead you to speed up. And this is consistent to the bodily reaction that you would have, because if the heart rate starts to go a little bit faster and your voice starts to run faster, it's like when here on YouTube you listen to the audio at a faster speed. Things go quicker, yeah? So it makes sense that if you are with awareness or not awareness just yet, doing something as you go through the emotion, that will be speed up as well. Example, if you're doing overeating, even if you're eating normally, but you're experiencing that sense of anxiety or excitement, your thoughts are running at a faster pace, your body sensation are accelerating, it makes much sense that even the act of you eating or smoking is going to be, or gambling is going to be at a faster pace. So the level of detriment that you're going to apport to yourself is going to be maximized. And this is one of the techniques that I found very helpful for my personal life and for other people, for clients as well, to be aware. And when you bring the awareness, also learn to observe the thoughts, the emotion, the behavior. We'll get into belief in another video, but even the act that you do, and also what is the action, what is the habit that you're practicing, and discern that. So say you want to become better in quitting, but even just step one, reducing the amount of emotional eating or anything over that you do, any compensating behavior that you recognize is not so helpful for you. Rule one, associate that or start to practice that in an environment that is neutral or slower pace. If you match that action or habit with any leading emotion that is accelerated, it may be not as easy, maybe actually more challenging for you to come off or become better in overcoming that behavior. When it comes to excitement and when it comes to anxiety and when it comes to reframing, you always have the beautiful chance to make the choice and ask yourself, how can I, that's always a beautiful start, how can I turn this into a better opportunity? Example, there's anxiety about a job situation. How can I turn that into excitement? Well, change is coming. This is exciting. I'm going to learn something new. Wow, like my life is going to open up a new chapter. Who knows what's coming for me? And call it. Try to see the scenario for the better. If you used to see, we talk about that programming, and the longer you are in a situation or pattern, the harder it is for you to create a new one. But it's just how long are you going to stay in that state? So it makes sense that when you the first time try to picture a better positive outcome or living into excitement, the first time your body is going to try to resist. It's something new. What are you doing? Just keep going. Just stay in that beautiful state. And the longer it becomes familiar, the easier it's going to be for you to spend much more time in that exciting stage. Always practicing that reframing, that any scenario, any situation you're not too happy about, any emotion you face and encounter, you can ask the question, how can I pivot this? How can I reframe this situation in a more positive one? I hope this was helpful. Any other questions, let me know. And if there's any areas that I've touched upon this long video, let me know if there's anything that you would like to expand upon or what's your experience. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being here.